Are you tired of playing small and ready to step confidently into your greatness and share your unique brilliance with the world? Well, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Sabine Gideon, and I've dedicated nearly 2 decades to empowering individuals and leaders as they confidently navigate the twists and turns of life and career transitions. If you're seeking direction, connection, or just a little push to play bigger, consider this podcast your VIP pass to a community that genuinely understands your journey. Join me every week for candid conversations and practical guidance designed to help you navigate the challenges of life and business, foster a growth mindset, and cultivate meaningful connections. It's time to embrace your inherent power, define your unique purpose, and prosper in every aspect of your life. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Sabine Gideon, and I'm excited to be bringing you another female powerhouse to discuss women and power and really breaking down the stigmas, breaking down the myths around what it means to be a powerful woman. And today I have a powerful woman with me, and you'll know a little bit more why I think she's powerful. Sabrina Victoria is the CEO of Her Nation and the host of her talk show. Sabrina records daily. She speaks with women on a daily basis who are making an impact, who are creating change in their particular spheres of influence. She has been in the entrepreneurial space for quite some time. Additionally, she has an amazing story of how she came into her own personal power. So I absolutely had to have her on the show. So with that, I will stop talking and have you introduce yourself, Sabrina. Tell us a little bit about you, your background, and really your journey professionally. We'll start there, and then we'll get into your actual power journey.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for having me. I love that our names are so similar, which is funny because now every time I see Sabine, I never realized it's everywhere.
Yeah.
There's things are just named Sabine. And now I know because you told me the whole background of it. So every time I see it, I'm like, but anyways, thank you so much for having me. Yeah. So my professional journey, what has led me. So first of all, I run a community called Her Nation. It's an all-female community based on health, wealth, and leadership. Women who are stepping into their power, women who are leaving the story behind, right? And creating, really recognizing that their story does not determine their future and that they can pivot and they can refocus and they can rise above. And yeah, it's all based on female entrepreneurs really just making a name for themselves and letting their voice be heard.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It's an amazing community and a very, very supportive community. So tell us about your entrepreneurial journey, because I know you've been in the entrepreneurial space. You've done different things in the entrepreneurial space. So what have been some of the catalysts for your pivots and career milestones?
Yeah, 100%. My entrepreneurial journey has been fabulous. I truly believe that I was born an entrepreneur. My brain just works that way. It's crazy. I was just having this conversation with somebody the other day as far as the pivots that happen in the journey of entrepreneurship. And if you're the type of person that needs to have everything perfect all the time, then entrepreneurship is not the best boat to get into. Not that you can't, but not the best boat, because you have to constantly be going in a few different directions all at once in order to really start to churn, especially in the beginning, some momentum into creating something great for yourself. But yeah, when I first started, girl, I mean, I was doing everything. I was running a OfferUp flipping business. I was rummaging through people's trash cans and dumpsters, flipping merchandise on OfferUp out of my garage. I was making $2,000 to $4,000 a month doing that while running my business. I was also renting out 2 bedrooms in my house on Airbnb. Just tons of stuff. I got into coaching about 10 years ago. I started out in health and wellness, and when I started, which I feel like it's very same dialogue. They tell you can be making $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 a client. And I'm like, where all the money at? I don't see any money. There's no money. What are you even talking about? So, but I had this dream. I had this vision. I'm like, I am going to make this freaking work. There are people making business in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I did everything and anything. I didn't care. Cleaning houses, walking dogs, picking up dog poop. I didn't care, in order to make sure that I could put in the hours that I needed to put in to make my business successful. And, 4 pivots later, here I am, and running a beautiful community.
I love it. So I'm going to share with the audience what really drew me to you. So I think it was earlier this year or maybe last year. I was searching for other female podcasters on, guess where, LinkedIn. And I stumbled upon Sabrina. And of course, I loved the name for many different reasons. I used to wish that my name was Sabrina when I was younger. So nonetheless, I stumbled upon it. And one day I'm doing the scroll, and I caught a short video from Sabrina where she was on a podcast and she was sharing about her journey. And one of the things that has stuck with me, and again, this was like last year or earlier this year, was something that she mentioned with, based on the relationship that she was in at the time. She used to always get told that the person with the money has the most power. Mm-hmm. And I sometimes you hear something and it just like, I don't know, it sticks you like a knife in your heart. And that did. And I listened to a little bit more about her story, and I was just like, wow, what an amazing testament of what it is to be fed a story for so long and believe it, and then making the decision not to believe that story again. And not only just find your power, but then turn around and help use that power or to influence other women to tap into their own power. So I won't ruin it, but if you would just share a little bit about your journey into really uncovering what power was and is for you today.
Oh, girl, so much of a journey to get here. And I love that my story can impact others. If there's anything that I wanted from all of the tears, all of the dark nights, all of the suicidal thoughts, there was always this like light in my gut where I'm like, this is happening for a reason. And I don't want my story, my grief, my heartache to be for nothing. There were so many nights of like just wanting to end it. And I would always think to myself, when I make it, I don't know how, I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know when, but when I make it, I don't want it to be for nothing. Like, I don't want to just be small. I don't want to just be average. Like, I want my story to impact others. And I tell my story. I tell my story of abuse. I tell my story of, being told that I was dumb and unknowledgeable and uneducated and a single mom and nobody would love me, and was constantly told that I didn't have any money and I would never make any money and never have anything for myself. And whenever I would get a little mouthy, my partner would say, whoever makes all the money makes all the rules. Do you have any money? Or the one that you heard, whoever has all the money has all the power. Do you have any money? And when somebody's taunting you like that, it's maddening. Like, you want to come out of your skin. You want to like get violent. It's maddening. What happened is, hearing this for over a decade, just taunting, just like stabbing a little bit, I thought to myself one day, he's not saying he makes all the money or he has all the money. He's saying whoever. Mm. Whoever has all the money has all the power. So does that mean that if I have money, I have power? And I have him to thank for that, because that's what led me on my journey of, how do I make money? opening up a secret bank account, starting 3 online secret businesses, collecting $50,000 secretly over the course of a few years so I could run away and I could escape. And what I found is that, yes, having money creates power. And a lot of times we're told, especially as females, ooh, be careful. Careful with that money. Money is evil. But it's only evil if you're an evil person.
Fair.
See, he used it in an evil way. I would never use it in the same context.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing that. And so, as you define power now, and I heard you say, money helps to create power. Being removed from that state in so many years, how do you define power today?
I use power by shedding light on other people's voices. So I take a lot of time creating a powerful atmosphere for myself so that I can then take that energy, I can take that vibration, and I can push it onto other people so that they can feed off of that power. I truly believe that I was put on this planet to empower others. So I do that by example. I do that by leading. And I do that by showcasing and spotlighting other individuals to say, hey, watch me and come with me.
Yeah. Would you say now power for you is internally or externally sourced?
Oh, internally, girl. Yes, internally. Recently, probably over the last maybe 5 to 7 years, have I really honed in on it, right? When we're on our journey, we're like, yes, internal power. But then in the back of our mind, we're like, but yes, 100%, I stand in my power, and I so encourage other individuals to be on their own journey to find their own, right? But until then, watch.
Yeah. And that's the point for those who are listening who are on their journey to tapping into that internal power that brings forth the confidence, that brings forth the ability to influence and impact and empower and all the things that we naturally want to do in the world. So along those lines, as I was doing the research around power, I looked up synonyms, and there are like all these other synonyms that we also associate with power, or we've given meaning to. And so the other two words that I'd love to hear how you define and how they show up for you are authority and influence.
Authority and influence. Girl. Authority. This is interesting because we say this a lot, especially in this realm. I even say this to my ladies. I say, stand in your power, and you are an authority in such and such. What does that mean? What does that mean to be in an authority in a certain arena? First of all, I don't think that, I feel as if one of the biggest conundrums that humans face is feeling as if you need to know all of the things. And I think sometimes we're like swimming around and we're trying to know all the things. And then it's so exhausting that we're just like, I'm not going to know any of the things. Where's the remote control? Having the ability to be able to dive deep into something that you are passionate about and know all of the things and stand in an authority of that subject helps humankind. It helps humankind. It's like that saying that says, what is the thing where it says master of none? What is that?
Jack of all trades,
master of none. Yeah. So when you allow yourself to be a master, this is when you can grab a community that wants to learn from you, wants to feed off of you. One of the things that I remember myself, and this goes along with influence too, is I always joke that I was saved by white old men. I was not saved by women. The reason I was saved by white old men is because when I would type in inspirational stories, motivational stories, Google put as an authority or as an influence white old men. Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, Joe Osteen, Wayne Dyer. These are the men that told me that I was worthy, that told me that I could do anything I wanted to do, that told me that nothing was impossible. That's actually Les Brown, who is not white. But one of my faves. But because these men decided to stand in their power, become an authority in a sect, and influence repetitively, they've saved tens of thousands, if not millions of people, me included.
Yeah.
If nobody decides to step into power, if nobody decides to be an authority, to be an influence in whatever niche, it hurts all of us. It hurts all of us. And this is my vision for women, is we need more women to stand in that same power, to recognize the importance of being a true authority in a sect, to rise as an influencer so much that the trend on Twitter, that Google recognizes you, puts you in place for somebody else to find you so that you can save them. The only reason I am where I am right now, mentally, emotionally, financially, and physically, is because somebody decided I am going to be an authority and I am going to influence the world. And because of them, I am where I am now, and I have everything to pay it forward.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. As you were talking about the people who influenced you, I was thinking to myself, you're right. I mean, mine weren't all white males, but they were all men, for sure. Between TD Jakes, Dr. Miles Monroe, who else? Dr. Wayne Dyer, he's one as well. And for me, those three really helped me tap into identity, right? It started with who am I, and helping to support me in answering that question, or at least going within myself to uncover what that question is. I will say there are two women in my journey that I can attribute it to, would be Mariam Williamson, with the Our Deepest Fear poem. That poem just speaks to my soul. Every time I read it, it's like the first time. And Marissa Peer, who is a hypnotherapist out in the UK, where her work is really around this building the self-worth and this understanding that I am enough. So for those who, struggle with that, I'm not worthy, or I'm not lovable, or whatever the messaging, the deep messaging is, like, she's been impactful. But you're absolutely right. There's so much more opportunity for us to leverage our voice, to leverage our experiences, to show or to create a lit pathway for those who are coming behind us. And so thank you for taking your journey. And we are so similar in so many different ways, because that same internal calling, if you will, it's almost relentless, that it's just like, no. You're not here just to live and work your 9 to 5. And not that I'm saying 9 to 5 is wrong, but you're not just meant to like do all the things that society tells you to do. That your journey is not just for you. It is a journey. It is a story. It is breadcrumbs that are meant to be shared for those who are coming behind you. So thank you for sharing that. Did you have another thought?
I did write down, as far as while you were speaking, I was thinking about how do we get more women? And I think the key is confidence mixed with courageous courage. And a lot of times people think courage and confidence are the same thing, but courage I use as an action.
Mhm.
So, like, you have to do courageous things. You have to do things that scare you. You have to do things that are fearful. I think a lot of times we like to like sit back and we like to like cozy up with a blanket. And, and that's not what is going to create the confidence you need in order to step into an authority or step in as an authority or as an influencer. You have to do scary things. One of the things that I talk about is whenever I get to a place in my life where I look around and I'm comfortable, it's a bad place to be. You never want to stay. That's just what we're always waiting for. We're always like, I just want my life to just calm down and just like be normal for a second. Yeah. And if you stay in that spot for too long, our life doesn't go like this. It's not a thing. If you stay like this for too long, it goes. So the fear, the courageous things that you do are what create the momentum of going up, evolving into something different. So I'm always looking around, I'm always like, have I been comfortable for how many days, how many weeks, how many months have I been comfortable? And if I'm noticing that, it's time for me to find new problems. It's time for me to sign up for something. It's time for me to do that one thing that I've been putting off because I'm too scared or I'm too nervous. Because these are the things that create the evolution of man and of woman to be able to elevate themselves.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everyone's watching, girl. Everyone is watching.
It's interesting. The courage piece that I remember when I wanted to step out into entrepreneurship, that's what I started praying for. Like I literally started praying for courage for weeks on end to make that leap. And when I feel the inkling that it's time to like move into another space, I immediately start to ask for that courage because to your point, fear shows up and fear has 101 excuses as to why you should not move forward. I'm curious because there's so much, especially in the space that we're in, and even in society, where it's almost like the ultimate goal is stability, whether that's financial stability, relational stability, whatever it is, right? Like we're in our subconscious mind is designed for that, right? It's designed to keep us safe and comfortable, and so we think that when we get to whatever level of stability or when we get to stability, that means that, okay, this is where I'm meant to be. And so I'm curious, what are some of the triggers for you where you are able to challenge yourself and go within and observe and say, okay, wait a minute, I've been here too long. It's time for a change. Like what happens externally or within for you to recognize that?
I'm literally always looking. I think that's just innate in me.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the things that I actually just talked about this in our mastermind last week. I do this in my relationships and my business, personal and business. I'm always looking for new problems. So if it's been a second, a month, 2 months, and I find myself in my head or externally talking about a problem, repeat, it could be anything. It could be like, I don't even know, like the toilet being cleaned or something like that. It could be small or it could be something big. Within one of the examples I gave was hiring a VA. So when I was running my business, I remember having conversations with my mastermind in the beginning. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to grow anymore unless I relinquish some of my control and hire a VA. And we actually downloaded. I actually got very emotional on the call. And we figured out that the reason I didn't want to hire a VA was because of control. And because of the identity I had put on myself as far as I am woman, hear me roar. I can do all of the things. I've done it all by myself. Therefore, I will continue to do it all by myself. My identity is that like I came from the ashes and here I am as a phoenix by myself. Everything was by myself. I did it by myself. I started on a mattress all by myself. I got here all by myself. But you can only do so much all by yourself. Mm-hmm. And if I wanted to expand, if I wanted to grow, if I wanted to reach millions of women, which is my goal, I needed to relinquish some of that control. So I had to work on my identity of what type of woman who has an identity of all by herself. There's a cap. There's so many hours in a day. There's a cap. So I had to open my world up, and that's a new problem, right? So my first problem was there's too much to do and I have no time and I'm not gonna be able to grow. This is all I can do. And we're just gonna stay here. I hired a VA. That's a problem. I have to teach this woman things. She's gonna forget things. She's not gonna do things. I'm gonna have to remind her of things. Now I have 3 VAs. These are new problems that I now have. So what I was joking about is we complain about our problems. We're like, problems, dirty toilet. We have a toilet. There are people that don't have toilets, right? VAs, my VA, I had to fire one of them the other day, which actually did happen. I had to hire another one a couple months ago. And it was this whole thing. I feel bad. I don't know what to do. And I have to train somebody else. Girl, I have 3 VAs. That's freaking awesome. So this is what we need to continuously be looking at and everywhere in our life. Where are the new problems? Where are the new things that are helping our world evolve so that when other people are looking at us, they're not like, oh, look at how awesome Sabrina is. She has her own little business and she's doing it all by herself and it's so cute. And oh, isn't she so powerful? What's the next step so that that same woman can see me 2 years later and be like, oh, shit. She owned her own business. She was doing fabulous, but now she has an office. Now she has a bougie car. Now she's having women speak. Now she's got employees so that she then silently has somebody to model after. And this is for all of us. This is for motherhood. This isn't just entrepreneurship. This is motherhood. This is career. This is advancing. This is finances. This is relationships. People are watching. You go from single to developing a healthy relationship, to getting engaged, to getting married, to having children, to being on a journey of health and wellness mentally so that your children are brought up beautifully. People are watching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And so earlier you said you are intentional about creating an atmosphere of power within yourself or for yourself so that you can pour that into other people. And I think that that's an important piece because we both agree that power is sourced internally and we can only pour out what we have within us. And it does take work, right? You don't wake up one day of like, oh my gosh, I'm so powerful. I have all this powerful inside of me, and then go for days and weeks and are still at full, right? So I'm curious, what are some of the practices that you've put in place for yourself personally so that you can remain grounded and so that you can continue to create your own atmosphere of power?
I absolutely love this question. And the reason I love this question is because, and no offense to you or whatever you teach, I feel as if there is this $1 million morning mentality all over the place, right? There's books, there's podcasts, there's coaches. So you have to have a routine somewhere. I don't know what it is, right? And we're all searching for this thing. Do I need to meditate? Do I need to journal? Do I need to do yoga? Am I supposed to run? Eating, there's vegan, there's all these things. We're like, oh, if we just implement this one thing, then I'll be making 6 figures. Then I'll have the perfect relationship. Then I'll be making millions, whatever it is. And we're fed all this information. And I think the holdup is a lot of times we don't do the thing because we think to ourselves, if I pick up journaling, then this means I have to journal for the rest of my life, because if I don't journal for the rest of my life, therefore I am a failure. And see, that's where they get you. And this is why so many people stay complacent, because they're like, ooh, Sabrina says meditate every single morning. I don't, but right? Every single morning. I don't know if I can do that every single morning. Therefore, I will not meditate. Therefore, I will never get better. I will never progress. I will never evolve, right? So what I talk about is do the thing that is calling you at the moment and go all in on the thing until it no longer serves you. And then switch.
Mm.
Our life is so long. You can journal for 2 weeks and big things can happen for you. Huge downloads can happen for you. And you could never journal again for the rest of your life. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can meditate for 6 years straight every single day and get huge downloads on how to do life better and differently, and then decide to never meditate again. Or you cannot meditate for 2 years and then start again. You can do whatever you want to do. I mean, society puts us in these boxes where we have to do the things. Like you start a book, finish the book. No, you can start a book, decide it doesn't resonate with you, and then never pick that book up again. And then you can start a new book. You can also open a book, flip to the middle of the book, and just read random. You can also just read through the table of contents, decide you just want to read chapter 16 and then just read chapter 16 and never pick the book up again. Like these are things that we can do in our life. And what I encourage people to do is try the things, go all in on the thing, and then switch, pivot. Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that, and thank you for offering that that perspective, because you're absolutely right. There's no one right answer for everybody, right? It's about what you feel. I do think though that there's a requirement of some level of intentionality in terms of feeding you, whatever that looks like, whether that is journaling, meditating, walking, exercising, whatever it is, that there is, because we're so multidimensional, right? It's the physical, it's the mental, it's the emotional, that all parts of us need to be fed on a regular basis, or it will starve and then it'll start showing up in different aspects of our lives. So, and for the audience listening, I completely agree with Sabrina that, you find the thing that works for you, but understand that every aspect of your being needs to be cared for, needs to be nurtured, needs to be taken care of.
Absolutely. And to your point, as far as being an authority, the very first subject is self-awareness of yourself. So first, before you become an authority in any other arena, you have to become an authority of your own self, your own self-awareness of what that is for you. You can only answer to you. So what is that for you at the moment? And then, like Sabine was saying, don't allow yourself to go so long after that without anything. You then have to be self-aware enough and that then to flip into something else. And it can go from physical to mental. Like you can go from running every single day, which is mental and physical, to meditating. That's okay.
Yeah. That's what also breeds that being in a comfortable place, getting into a routine, right? When we become so fixed on this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to choose to do. And when the season for that thing has shifted and we have not, then we become complacent and we don't even recognize that it is potentially impacting other places in our lives. So thank you for that. For those of you who are listening, I hope, this conversation has really supported you in doing some introspection, because as Sabrina says, we can't have authority. We can't have power. We can't lead. We can't influence anyone else if we cannot first do that within ourselves. Or I should say, we can't do it effectively and create the outcomes that we want. Otherwise, we will be leading, we will be having power or exercising power over people from a space, from someone else's model, from someone else's being. And so, it's tremendously important that as you've been listening to this series, that I hope that you have really been internalizing this and that you go back and you listen to the conversations, because based on life experiences, everyone brings something different to the table. But the beauty is that these women have done the work to identify what these things mean to them, how they show up. And a year from now, if I talk to them, it may look different, right? Because they will have evolved. So the beauty of this is to do the work. This is the work. This is the work of leading. This is the work of being impactful and being confident. It's not the showing up day to day. That's important. Don't get me wrong, but that is the output, if you will. The real work happens within. So thank you so much, Sabrina, for sharing your wisdom. I do want to move into our blitz session here so that we can hear from you on 3 questions. We're going to allocate about 2 minutes for these. So first one up, knowing what you know now, if you could go back to a younger version of yourself and give her a piece of key advice, what might that be?
I'm going to say, always be learning. You're being taught right now. So if I were to go back, I would say you're learning something right now. What are you learning? Mm. That was one of the things I did with my ex when I finally started to move into my abusive ex. I was with him for over a decade. When I started to move into healing, instead of the rage that would happen, and I'd cower down and I'd cry and I'd do this whole victim thing, I started to kind of step into it. I still had to play the role. So I would play the role externally, but like internally, I was like, what is he teaching me right now? Mm. And if you can start to take on your challenges like that, like now when a challenge hits me, because we're all human, right? There's always things. Instead of falling into like, oh, I'm like, what am I learning? This is big. This is going to help me in the future. This is happening to me so that I can be better equipped for something even bigger in my future. So I take it on almost constantly as a student. I am constantly a student of my present life. That's what I would tell her.
I love that. And looking ahead, I know you have big goals of supporting, helping, empowering, advancing 1 million women in your lifetime, if not more. You're looking at your life, 50, 60, 70, however many years from now, and you're looking back at the impact that you've made. What do you want the narrative to be?
Your story, my story, anyone's story can impact millions. That's what it would be. It wouldn't be about me. It would be a legacy of proof that anybody's story can impact millions.
Oh, I love that. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then lastly, because I know you're such a learner, I believe that leaders are readers. And so I'm curious, has there been a book or a couple of books that have been impactful for you on your journey?
Yeah. One of the most impactful, which I recommend everyone to read, is Influence, which is an old book, all about how people influence each other. And then the other one is Slight Edge. Just recently read that one by Jim Olson, maybe. And this is the little tiny itty bitty things, like the thing that I'm talking about as far as constantly looking for problems, that isn't in there. But it's this, like, you're constantly doing just a little bit more. You're pushing yourself just a little bit more. And those little itty bitty 1-inch pushes moves you eons further in your evolution as a person, mentally and emotionally.
Okay, awesome. So I will include the 2 books that you recommended, Influence and Slight Edge. I will include those in the show notes. So before we let you go, for those who are listening, who are like, oh my gosh, I want to be connected with this lady. Where does she hang out? Where does she live? How can I connect with her?
Yeah. So my main website is sabrinavictoria.com. You can find all my social media on there. Where do I hang out the most? I hang out the most on Facebook and LinkedIn.
Awesome.
Sabrina Victoria.
Yes. And we will definitely include those links. And do you want to share a little bit about your mastermind? I know you talked high level about who you have in the mastermind, but for those who are thinking to themselves, I might want to check it out.
Yeah, we specialize in the three things that all female business owners need that don't necessarily have. And that's community, right? When you leave your corporate job, you're used to that community. You're used to the people around you. You go to lunch with people and you can have little side conversations and little jokes, and you have this community that you're in. And then you become an entrepreneur and you're like, where's all the people? So community is key. We need that, especially as women. Number two is education. There are things that you don't know about being an entrepreneur. When you're in a room with other entrepreneurs, you can ask. Right? You can feed off of each other. You can leverage each other's mental resources as far as, this is a new problem that I have. Is this normal? Education. And then number three is the network. You have to have a megaphone. You have to be able to tell people about your business. And we provide the networking for that so that you can meet other people that can then help you expand and grow your business, whether it's being a megaphone, talking, or helping you actually physically with your business, or just mentally, right? Teaching you something that you may not have previously known.
Love that. And we will definitely include the link to the mastermind in the show notes as well. With that, Sabrina, thank you so much for being on here. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for sharing and really opening up this space for us to examine, myself included, re-examine our thoughts, our beliefs around what it means to be powerful. And not only that, but really, how do we leverage that power to support others and to advance women in all stages and all phases of society? So I sincerely appreciate you being on the show and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right. Awesome. With that, we will be back next week with another female powerhouse. Thank you so much for being on this week. Take care. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you found today's conversation helpful or got a piece of insight that you plan to implement in your life, I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on LinkedIn at Sabine Gideon and send me a message, or feel free to leave a review on either Apple or Spotify. I also invite you to share this episode with anyone in your network, another powerhouse possibly, who you think might benefit from today's conversation. Lastly, as always, any links, any resources, or any upcoming training is included in the show notes, so be sure to check that before you leave today. Until we chat again, have a blessed and powerful week.